if you read it, you'll see it's written in a completely different tone than everything else. In a sense, an easier tone, more like Musar Sefer. And it's not long. It's 7 Perakim, I think. 7 short Perakim. When we talk about the purpose of life, so there's 2 different ways to look at it, and they might not be mutually exclusive. I hope they're not, but they're 2 different things. One thing to look at is, okay, Hashem put me in this world. This is very yesodistic what I'm saying now. Hashem put me in this world. What's my job? My job is to be a Tzadik. Do whatever for personal growth and to become, like, sort of go through the university of the world of life and become something much more than the way I came into this world. In a way, that's the Pashat Pshat, actually the way I grew up. So, they say from, just as a mashal, they say, Michelangelo, that, they say when he saw a rock, he saw a beautiful sculpture inside the rock. Now it's just his job, thank you very much. Now it's just his job to can you get him another cup of coffee? That's the part I'm worried about. I got. That's right. There you go.
If the table needed to be washed.
So let's think carefully. I'm sorry for the.
I apologize.
The way Michelangelo, that mashal means that you find something which is a piece of wood or a rock. In there lies this beautiful piece of art, this statue. It takes the artist to chisel away the impurities until it becomes that beautiful thing. That was the philosophy, if you will, that was put forth by Michelangelo, which was very moving to me when I read it. And it means by the way, at least in his mind, every rock was different. Like, in other words, he didn't see the same thing in one rock as he saw another rock. To me, a rock is a rock. It's just a rock. What's the difference? But everyone is different. And what that means for us would be that you come into this world, Yetzer Lev Ha'adam Ra Min Urav. A person doesn't come into this world with any particular godless, but you come in the world with potential, and the potential is to become a tzaddik, and the mitzvahs that we do, the Torah that we learn, the challenges that we have, the Shiurim that we go through, it all molds the person, and until you leave this world, so you can become a tzaddik. We learned in Nefesh HaChaim that Moshe Rabbeinu was not at the same madrega when he left this world as he was when he came in this world, or he wasn't even the same madrega at his death at 120 years old as he was by the sneh. He grew and grew and grew and grew, and you could see that in the middle there he was. He went from the sneh to Har Sinai to a bigger gilui to Parish Minaisha. He became more and more otherworldly, so much so we learned that he was so otherworldly that he wasn't even fitting for going into Eretz Yisrael. By the way, while I'm here, Rav Kook, Olav Shalom, said the same thing about Eretz Yisrael Gufa. Eretz Yisrael is, what he said actually is that there's 2 aspects to it. There's the Kedushas Haaretz, which is inherent in the Kedusha, and there's what we make out of Eretz Yisrael. So is that bringing out the Kedusha, or is that a place which is mesugal for Kedusha, so we put Kedusha into it? But in other words, what did Avram Avinu do? And it's not our subject, what Lech Lecha and the buying of the Maris HaMachpelah, but philosophically, says Rav Kook, you could understand it 2 ways, and he has his shita, which is not our Indian right now. So that's one way of looking at the person. I don't know, just think for yourself, is that the way you see life? In other words, I come into the world, my job is to become a tzaddik. Become a tzaddik. There's another way to look at the world, which I believe is the Volozhin way to look at the world, and that the truth is the word Tzadik is hardly mentioned in Shas. It's hardly mentioned in the Torah. Yosef HaTzadik, Noach is Tzadik. But you don't find by Noach is Tzadik that it was any kind of a thing that, oh, we should aspire to this our whole life. It's not like Noach is Tzadik. Okay, Noach was a Tzadik. Whatever it means, you don't find it too often, and you don't find it as like this ultimate goal in life, to be a Tzadik. So what then is the ultimate goal? So the ultimate goal is we're put in this world to Tikkun Olam. When I say Tikkun Olam, I don't mean to plant trees necessarily or to hug them. But what I'm talking about, Tikkun Olam, I'm saying that every person is put in this world with the ability to change the world of Asiya, the world of Yetzirah, the world of Bria, the world of Atzilus, mamish change the Shemayim, and be masakin the Olam Oisel Yonis, and hence create bracha in this world. And every person that comes into this world has to do their part, other than Olam b'malchus shakai, shechol b'nei v'asar yikra elecha, yikra shmecha. We're talking about, so my goal is ki'ilu, not what I'm becoming in the world. It's almost not important, except for maybe as much as I have to become something in order to make this ultimate tikkun. But the goal, the focus, the mikud here is to understand what I'm doing in this world. Does that sound like a chiddush to anybody? That's where you grew up. So the answer is I grew up in a Hasidic yeshiva, and you grew up where? Lidfish yeshiva. Okay, so fast forward, to me it doesn't sound like such a bad idea to become a tzaddik and worry about the tikkun. Something, I don't know why it has to be a machlekes, but I believe it is a machlekes. And it's so much so that the Nefesh HaChaim, look what we were just learning for the last number of weeks. We're learning about the anivus, really, of Moshe Rabbeinu. Nachnu ma. I'm nothing. I'm not here. Nachnu ma. I'm not just transparent. I don't even exist. Like Avram Avinu d'chsiva noichi afer ve'efer. There is there. Moshe Rabbeinu, Nefesh HaChaim taught us, is a completely different paradigm than the understanding of Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Nevi'im. The Nevuah, where the whole Gilui of the Shemayim came into the Aretz through him. And we see Moshe Rabbeinu, you don't have to be no Nefesh HaChaim to know that Moshe Rabbeinu was also the great advocate for the Jewish people, right? Lama, right? Why Lama Charabcha? Why are you getting angry at the Jewish people? Lama Yoimru Hagoyim. He spoke to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a way, but it never had anything to do with Moshe Rabbeinu. You can argue that with Moshe Rabbeinu's personality, what are you doing to me? Even when Korach attacked him, so Vayipal al Panav. And so there's a way, what the Nefesh HaChaim has been makdim to us, and that's why I pointed out at the beginning that you have to learn Shar Gimel before you learn Perakim. And the Shar Gimel is all about when I say anivus, it takes us the wrong way, but to the nothingness of Moshe Rabbeinu. So it comes out like this, very practical thing. You stand in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shemona Esrei. So what are we doing there? Are we saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, help me, which sounds right? Or are we saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, Aseh leman shemecha, Aseh leman yiminecha, Aseh leman kedushasecha, Aseh leman shchinasecha. It's not about me. My job here is to daven because I have some kind of a koach for the world, and that bracha can fall on the whole world and on me also. Ulai. You see, the Baskol said, Kol Olam Kulei Misparnes Mechanina B'ni. Mechanina B'ni, from Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos. In other words, he was the Shvil, Chanina, Rebbe Chanina ben Doisa, Chanina B'ni, the Shechina called him, the Baskal called him, Shechina B'ni. I presume that's in the name of Hashem. Shechina B'ni was opened up a pipe. That could be our job, like that. Look at it like that, the visual. Like in these big factories, you come in and you open up the pipe, let the water flow in. So each one of us can be a pipe, but the more, look at it this way, the more that we are as people, the more we personally exist, like Fleischiks, so the less water is going to go through that pipe. The thicker the pipe, the less quantity of the flow. So Moshe Rabbeinu, nachnu ma, I'm a nothing. So this, by the way, I think even in the Litvisha world, seems to me to be, unless I'm not looking at it correctly, seems to be already like a machlekes between like Slabotka and Navardik, like where the Slabotka story is like Godless Ha'adam, and the Navardik story is Ich bin agarnished, as everybody knows the famous joke, right? Ich bin agarnished. You know the famous joke? Famous joke is that somebody came to Navardik to learn, and he sees what everybody's doing, like sitting there learning, and they're saying, Ich bin agarnished, I'm a nobody, I'm a nothing. So he sat by his stender. He's okay, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. They're saying, Ich bin agarnished. So the two people next to him turned away. He's here one day, he's already agarnished. What do you think you are? But it's a Gavaldic story. However, this could be the machlekes. So I just want to show you two things. Number one, in the if you go in the Nefesh HaChaim, way to the beginning, Shar Aleph, Perek, Chaf Aleph, he says here, I think he says there's a number of places, but here's one. V'zois teres ha'adam. This is what the purpose of a person is. Lishma, when he's learning Torah Lishma, which we were talking about in Shar Aleph. Lishmar l'kayim kechol ha'kasav ba. You should do, and you're learning Lishma, and also to keep everything that it says. And then Mataher es gufay, something happens where you get a tahara. Torah Lishma, in other words, not like going to college and getting information. Something happens where your mataher es gufay may roishay become tahar when I'm learning Torah Lishma. The brachas lama nisma ohal, which is tense to rivers. Man necholim malanas ha'adam mituma l'tara. Oil, that means oil Torah, malanas ha'adam mikaf choiva l'kaf schus. V'chein shedarshu chazal gabi taras ha'tmeim b'mikvah. When a Tamik person goes into the mikvah, sticking out, mayim shekol gufay oila behem, kach b'divrei Torah kol gufay shel adam oila behem. V'sharu chachamim ama lama b'rum shalosh amas hein shloisha ilamais, nefesh ruach neshama ma'isa dibur machshava Torah. And he goes on to explain that when one is going into the mikvah, one is completely, there's nothing of yourself which is left out. Completely immersed. Completely means it's not, and this feels good, or this is inspiring, or this is good for my brain, or it's stopping my memory loss. It's not, no, those are all nice little benefits. But Torah Lishma. So Torah Lishma means that there's a tahara. Tahara means complete purity in the sense that there's nothing left of me. That's the way he explains it. Yeshiva Holim. Tom. Yeah.
In the Perakim of the Rambam, he speaks about, writes about every person, everything he does has to be directed at a tachlit. And the tachlit he defines as Ahavat Hashem. Doesn't get involved, I'm not saying there's any steering, but it doesn't get involved in a higher goal, an epiphany of Tikkun Olam. He only says that what we have to do as individuals is to devote ourselves to Avodat Hashem in order to achieve Ahavat Hashem. Is that a steer to what?
I'm not sure it needs thought, but let me just add on to what you're saying. That the Rambam says, Volozhin, he says that kol limud she'ein by mishum avas Hashem einoi limud. Like anything that's not going to bring you to avas Hashem. But when we say, it's not called Torah Lishma, or it's not called. But when we say that, once you do it, like people explain, why should you do mitzvahs? Why should you put on tefillin? Why should you? Once you say I'm doing it for anything, it's already wrong. Doing it because Hashem told me to do it. I mean, there's only one answer to that question. But I don't want to lose nachzir linyonenu here. The question is, the chakira, if you will, is: are we here to become, or are we here to serve? That's a and it could be that is a stira minei obey, because if I'm becoming, then I'm losing my nothingness. Once I'm becoming, so like any type of, and the Nefesh HaChaim goes so far as to call it gaiva, davening for yourself, or becoming a tzaddik. You'll see the gaiva, and it's a terrible thing. Now, I just want to say this: the Rav Leuchter brings from one of the Talmidei Agra. Now, I don't know why he keeps it a secret which one of the Talmidei Agra is, but it's an exact quote. It must be like a secret. So he learned Nefesh HaChaim with Rav Wolbe and Olav Shalom. And at Rav Wolbe, he said this. One time I went to his Shiurim for a short time. I went to his Shiurim when I lived in Yerushalayim. But he said, Rav Leuchter said, that when Rav Wolbe learned with him one-on-one, Nefesh HaChaim, so it's not the pshat he was learning him Nefesh HaChaim b'chavrusa. That's not what was going on. He said that Rav Wolbe was teaching him, how do you give over these yesodis to people? Like a ruach hakodesh of knowing that he's going to be the one, and he is. To give over certain yesodis, how do you say this over? That was and Rav Wolbe said that he chapped this, that's what he told him, because he used to learn with Rav Hutner. And when Rav Hutner came here to Eretz Yisrael, by the way, I remember, Rav Hutner moved to Eretz Yisrael, and I think it was every day, and Bachram used to watch this because he lived right next door on Sorotskin, every day, so Rav Wolbe used to arrive at the apartment of Rav Hutner, and they used to learn. Rav Hutner had a booming voice. Rav Wolbe didn't, but Rav Hutner had a booming voice, and he used it all the time. I don't know why he didn't speak low ever. And he always had the window open, and Bachram used to stand outside the window on a regular basis listening to this shiur. And they used to learn Maral, but not Nefesh HaChaim, they used to learn Maral. And you see Rav Wolbe come in, learn Maral, Rav Wolbe went out. But Rav Hutner, by the way, used to learn with Lubavitch Rebbe. I'm not saying as a senior, but I'm just saying an interesting how this worked. And then he gave it up. He didn't want to learn with Lubavitch Rebbe. But Rav Wolbe said to him in the name of Rav Hutner that I'm not teaching you Nefesh HaChaim, I'm teaching you how to give over these yesodis. So this is one of the things that he brings from the Talmidei Hagra. Let me just read it, please. This is a Lashon. Yesod ha-machloikis shehekim Hagra neged ha-chasidim. The main machloikis that the Gra had against the Hasidim, Bikarahu, the Iker point was, Sheherim Rosh HaChasidim HaKavona Al HaMaisa, V'hayisarin Liyachidei Skula Lisnaig L'fam B'Maisa Al Pirois, Einom Lotzeis Midarka Shel Torah. It's a little bit different than what we're saying, but you'll see how it ties in. That are you looking at the Maisa, or are you looking at the Kavan of the Maisa? Dahainu, you're supposed to daven during the Zman. I'll give you an example. You're supposed to daven Kriya Shema during the time of Zman Kriya Shema. But if you're a big tzaddik, maybe, you can look at like the reason for saying Kriya Shema B'Zman, B'Shach B'Chav Kumecha, and understand that for me, the Zman doesn't apply. The Zman, the time to daven Kriya Shema, doesn't apply. And it's more important for me to make hachanas, and to go to the mikveh, and to learn for a few hours of Chassidus, and kol minei zachen. So this was always, by the way, like the not the main point, but the main point of controversy through the generations of Hasidim and Misnagdim, because the Misnagdim were always looking for a place in halacha where they're messing up, and this was always it. They would do a bris milah after shkia, a lot of Hasidim, because they wanted to use every minute of the day to be mechen for the bris milah. Baruch niyas. So says this Talmud Agra that this is what the Gra is against. That there should be yechidei skula, that there are individuals that can delve into the reason for something and then take it that way. Hibnui al yisoid shel shleimus hayachid. Listen, this is how this fits in. He says that kind of a mentality, said the Gra, is built on the fact that it's shleimus hayachid of la shlama halu'umis stricha shetei aseiker, but it's not right. I'm a tzaddik. This is what I need to do. But it's not right. It should be the global thing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put a Seder in the world, and the Seder of the world says this is what's on Kriya Shema, period. V'hayachid, afilu hu gadol ma'oid tzarech sheyigarer acher hatzibur b'chol minyan kamay psukay shel divrei Chazal b'Mishnu Gemar. Nobody has the right. So what he's learning in this is that, what does it mean nobody has the right? Like, forget about yourself and what's better for you or what's better for your growth, or even to consider, that maybe we're going to tweak this one a little bit, because zeal busser time, let's get into it. So the whole path of spiritual growth, which is my whole life. The whole path of spiritual growth is in question if in any way it creates more of me and less of the tzibur.
Isn't the mahalach of the Tzadik is supposed to be taking the tzibur? That's the motivation for what he's doing?
Right. So what happens? What happens when, first of all, when the tzaddik has nothing to do with the tzibur? Tzaddik sits someplace and he has nothing to do with the tzibur. It's not my thing. I'm not involved. So what happens there? Tzaddik. In other words, look, we all know that everything has kind of changed even in the last 20 years. It was a very clear thing between let's say the Admorim, the Rebbes, and lately the Chachamim, that are tzaddikim and giving brachas and somehow have some kind of a koach lamala, and let's say the Gedolei HaRosh Yeshivas and the Gedolei HaPoskim, that was, I imagine if somebody got a bracha from Moshe Feinstein, it was very, very strong, but that wasn't his thing. It wasn't his thing. His thing was to Moshe Feinstein, Moshe Anav Mikol Adam. In other words, there was always this sort of a Litvish approach, which is ironic because the Litvish Rosh Yeshiva were always called by the Hasidim Balei Gaiva, but there's this Litvish approach of v'nachnu ma. I'm not now. Once I become the tzaddik and people are giving me kavod, a lot of kavod, and I'm giving out brachas, and I have this sort of power to change around the things. It's a different derech. People find it very inspiring, including myself. But I know in Chabad, when the Rebbe was alive and well, so it was Ki'ilu, the real Hasidim never told any miraculous stories about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I was told this when I was a kid. That's not for Chabad Hasidim. For other Hasidim, it's all about the miracles and Baal Mifsim and this and that. It's about the understanding of Hasidus, understanding the world, and then they would point out in a footnote, but there's hundreds of miracles that you could point to, which I'm sure is true. The Chassam Sefer and the Gra, I mean, there's all kinds of stories. But those stories were never the Iker, if you will. The Iker was the limud, the davening for the tzibur. Can I say everybody wants to say something?
Volba, in the Mir one time, he spoke about the Afer Va'efer versus the Nachnuma. And if I recall correctly, he basically said the Avos were beginning of the Merkava. That was their, that's why they were...
Who they were.
That's why they chose that Mahalach, whereas Moshe Rabbeinu had to be a Tzinor. So there was
So he's saying the same thing.
That they're both legitimate, but the context determines what you do.
They're both legitimate until came Hasidim and Misnagdim, which made one the Iker and not the other Iker. It's hard. Look, I was just like, people say, like, I'm Hasidish, or I'm Litvish, you know. I mean, it's to me, it's like it's sort of a pick and choose. Or I feel more comfortable being Hasidish. I'm going to become Hasidish. I'm going to become Litvish. I don't like it. I do like it. You know, but it just seems to me that like this issue was the machlekes of the biggest gedolim in history, or at least since the Tanoim and Amoraim, the Gra, the Baal Shem Tov, the Chaim Volozhin, the Maggid Mizrich. I mean, this was, it just seems to be always to be funny. Like, I'm more comfortable being a chassid. I just at best, I think the best we could do in this whole thing is have a Messiah. And this is your Messiah and stick with it. But it's funny that it's considered like a kind of like, okay, here's where you can use your creativity to feel like this or to feel like that, and do this way, that way. I certainly, I mean, as an example, just on Nia Cotton, I would never delve into like who's right and who's wrong. I can read what you feel, but then there's a danger with how you feel, because could be it's a feel-good experience, and that's what the Hasidic thing is, but it's not the emes. Or it could be, I'm just like this, I don't feel b'chlal, like I'm not a feeling person, so I'm going with the Litvish derech. But I don't think it's about personality types. And I don't think that anybody can go ahead and say, well, this is the emes, not the emes, or the Rambam was, the Lubavitchers say that the Rambam was a chassid. And the Gra says the Rambam was like the ultimate misnagid. That's what they say. I mean, they both say the same thing. Like yeah.
Why do we have to say that becoming? Why do we say becoming is like a reverse becoming? I have to, in order for me to become a nothing, I have to become. I have to be a Tzadik. I have to go through this process of spiritual growth in order for me to shed the life. Why is it that?
So I don't know, but I know there's a sakana involved. And the sakana, there's a sakana involved either way, by the way. The sakana involved is that you can become such a tzaddik that for people around you, they can start to worship you. We've seen that. Well, that's a problem for the people, no matter what he is. And it's a problem for the person himself that, and don't forget the historical part of it, that Shafsai Tzvi, lahavdil from all the Gedolim, the Shafsai Tzvi, this was the issue. He was the Tzaddik Yesod Olam. And he wasn't, I mean, he did conduct himself as well, if not better, than most of the Tzaddikim do today. So, for the most of his life, he was just a Tzaddik, and people saw miracles with him. And, so there's a sakana involved. So the answer is probably that is the derech. But I was thinking this, like here, the sakana the other way, by the way, in Vanachnu Ma, is that it can be very depressing to feel like you're a nothing. Ich bin garnished. You have to be a high madrega because we are shagam huish. we are basar v'dam. So it's not so pashut to be a garnished, even if you hold of that. But I just want to quote, right? You with me on that? Like it's not so pashut psychologically.
It can also lead to saying like the Rosh Yeshiva that whatever he says, I'm gonna listen to. Like it takes away your own rational thinking.
So what is that?
That's saying, isn't it like a,
Well, that's where the whole thing merged, and maybe that's min hashamayim, so I don't want to unmerge them. But
so that's like a new thing?
you know, I'll tell you a personal thing. Just a personal thing. I was zocha to learn with one of the Gedolim, Rav Sheinberg, Tzadik Livracha, and he was a Tzadik. I mean, I lived at his house. There's no question that he was a Tzadik in the sense that his whole life was avodas Hashem. There was nothing else. I mean, he got up at 3:45 in the morning. It took 50, and I lived in his house. I put on his tzitzis for him. He put on a lot of tzitzis, and he had his avodas. It took 20 minutes to put on the tzitzis on him. That's how long it took. It takes us a second. It took 20 minutes. He would learn things that he would never teach. So totally Torah Lishma for a couple of hours. Sometimes, totally things, sugyas that had nothing to do with yeshiva, nothing to do with his psak halacha, the Isaac and Krisos, or even in Kabbalah. And then he would daven netzachama ba'arichus. And then he would tell us, mamish, a tzaddik. And a Rosh Hashiva, huge Talmud Chacham. I mean, there wasn't a Ksais that he didn't know, a Tosfos that he didn't know. There was nothing that he didn't know, so he was a huge Talmud Chacham. And as years went on, he became more of a manhig also. But that wasn't his thing, really, to be, in my opinion. It wasn't his thing to be a manhig. There came a time, maybe I shouldn't even say this on a tape, but I'll say it for historical record. There came a time that he was not a very good fundraiser. And the yeshiva grew, the fundraise. So me, Yaacov Haber, was living in Monsey, said, Rav Sheinberg was going into the, the Svardish Shtibel in Borough Park, the minion factory, and he went in with a towels full and tzitzis and like a leather pouch that the bus drivers used to wear, and people would give him $1 and ask for change. He would take 75 cents, and he would go from minion to minion, raising money. And I said to him, Rebbe, I could do that. You don't have, let me do that because I happened to be there once, davening. So, and I saw this. I couldn't believe what I'm seeing because there was such covet in the yeshiva. And he said, if you go around, they're going to give you a quarter. If I go around, they give me $1. See, that was his answer to me. But it used to drive me crazy. And then when I became Rav and Monsey, so he came and he asked me for help fundraising, and I set him up with this marketing company. From marketing company in Flatbush, and I said, look, let's do the dinner correctly, like you do a dinner, and invitations correctly, and PR correctly, and let's do it correctly. Now his dinner was mamish herring and kichel in the basement of a shul in Borough Park. That was his annual dinner, and he wasn't making the budget. So they said, okay, and I actually hired him. I raised the money at that time to hire him, helped raise the money, to hire this company to fix it. All of a sudden, I see on the lampposts of Monsey huge signs with a very tzaddik-looking picture of Rav Sheinberg with a halo around him, saying "Tzaddik Bala'ir," and it said for brachos, or for to daven with his minyan or something like that. But I looked at it and I said, come on, you're missing the whole thing. I mean, he's a gon, he's a posek, But I'll tell you something. All of a sudden, it went from him calling me and said, Rabbi Yaakov, can you call somebody? Because I got to, can you call somebody? All of a sudden, there's a line outside my door, because he was staying there, of a constant line. I don't know if anybody's been there. Hundreds of people. I mean, Boker Ad Erev. And he raised the budget. And he did not like this at all. And I saw in one day the shift from Rosh Hashiva to Rebbe. He was a good Rebbe. He was a tzaddik. He wasn't less of a tzaddik than anybody else. But all of a sudden became a Litvisher Rebbe. And this was all about the need for him, Mesiras Nefesh. First of all, it was Mesiras Nefesh talking to people all day long. He was 85, 90 at the time. And it was something to behold, but it was a different thing, and it was at kedei kach. This was just, I'm telling this to you, that when they started to write the ArtScroll biography of Rav Sheinberg after he was nifter, so they showed it to me. Just take a look at it. You knew him well, and I said, this is all wrong, completely wrong. The whole thing is wrong, and I rewrote the book. Read the introduction. It's not the right book. It's not a story of a miracle worker. Although he did miracles. I'm sure Moshe Feinstein did miracles, and I'm sure the Gra did miracles. That's not the point. And I'm sure there's a place for Rebbes and Tzadikim. I just want to say one more thing. The Rebbes also turned more Litvish. So now, first of all, these Rebbes are a lot of them huge Talmidei Chachamim. And it's like a different thing now. Piece, which is written or written from a Hasidic Rebbe, which is complete hadracha in Avodas Hashem. Now, I would argue the answer is because he was a Rosh Yeshiva for many years, but see also a shift there. So maybe it's good that everything's merging, but so there's no more Hasidim Misnagdim. So I'm all for the merge. I like inclusiveness and unity, but what I'm saying philosophically. This is my introduction to the Perakim. That the Perakim are. I just started to say this. The Mesilas Yesharim, Sefer HaYesod, Mesilas Yesharim, Yesod HaYesod. It's v'shorish HaChasidus. Sheyeda ha'adam, ma'chayvasei ba'olamai. Sheyeda v'yisamei etzel ha'adam, ma'chayvasei ba'olamai. And then, like Rabbi Ephraim said, ma'chayvasei ba'olamai? What's the answer? We got to read the book. but the book is basically one thing leads to the next, and you end up with Avas Hashem. So, I mean, if you look at it, this is the Ramchal, before that whole issue of Hasidim, before it got divided this way, it was Pashut Be'enei the Ramchal, it seems to me, that Ma'chayvasei Ba'olamai is, I have to think of why am I here, and it's not to become, it's to do. It's to. If you read the Sefer, it's to be able to make the world a better place to live in a ruchniistic way. That's what he says. Talking about Tikkun Olam. So, and I also understand that historically. In more Akarsic words, that the Baal Shem Tov understood that the world needs a replacement for Shabsai Tzvi. They need. They speak about the Baal Shem Tov trying to be him out of hell. You know, that the Shabsai Tzvi came to him and said, "Okay, can you?" I mean, think about and the Gra was like, let's get away from this whole thing. So there was a little extreme what's the word? Extremeness. Is that a word?
Polarity? Polarization.
Yeah, okay.
Extremism?
Extremism on both parts, because each one was a reaction to history. A reaction to history is not good. So I'm giving too much hakdama, but I want to understand what we're learning in context. But I'm sure, like you, like I, when find some kind of a hilltop with a minyan, and like you did, Yoni, and just get out of the whole thing. This is not. What did you say, Chaim, from the Rambam? It's not maybe l'day yira, it's not maybe l'day ava. What's it doing, all this politics? But it's an absolute necessity, but sometimes I feel to myself, like lama litzarazu, just go and do avodas Hashem. You get older, and that's what you think. And then I think, I'm doing something here. But it's actually quite a struggle to do avodas Hashem in the world that we live in. That's all I'm saying. Like sometimes you want to just go become a tzaddik. On the other hand, if the whole tachlis is to be able to do I came to this world, is it to become a tzaddik? That's the shayla. That's the shayla. Did I come into this world to become a tzaddik? Or do I sometimes have to give up my tzaddik to be meshaper the world? Let me just end with the story that I told you before, and then we'll start the Perakim and Hashem on Sunday, exactly inside, and I just want to go through it quickly. But I mentioned the story before that the Rav of Beersheva or Ber Shava, as the Chumash calls it. The Eitz Yaakov mi Ber Shava, Vayelech Harana. I don't think it says Ber Sheva too often. But the Rav Ber Shava was Rav Kushelevsky's father, Rav Kushelevsky, and he needed to build a mikveh for the tzibur there. The mikveh wasn't good anymore, and this is in the 50s I'm talking about. So he needed to build a mikveh for the tzibur, and the only place where he got a building permit to build a mikveh was where where a shul used to be, which is Keneged Halacha, because the Halacha says you're not allowed to build a mikveh any place, and you're allowed to do a lot of things with the shul, but one of the on top of the shul, like a merchatz, needed a merchatz. So, but otherwise there'd be no mikveh. So it was an aveira, it was a mitzvah. So he went to the Chazon Ish to ask the Chazon Ish what to do. Should I build a mikveh? This is the only chance I have of building a mikveh is in this piece of land. The details of halacha are not important. What's important is that the Chazon Ish told him that the Chazon Ish thought about it, and he told him that you should build a mikveh. So he says, but it's Keneged Halacha. So he said, so you'll go to Gehenna a little bit, but the Olam will have a mikveh. Okay, I'll leave that with you.